Our next inductee is Joe Powell. And to induct Joe Powell to Hall of Fame is his son, Terry Powell.
Hi, my name is Terry Powell. I'm here to induct my dad, Joe Powell, into the Hall of Fame this evening. I'm also representing my brother Kim and sisters Robin and Amy. As a group, we nominated Dad for this honor, and we want to thank the Hall of Fame for his selection. Dad's been a part of the local music scene for nearly 70 years as a country lead singer and rhythm guitarist. His music story began nearly 80 years ago in Garrett County, Kentucky. Tells you how old he is. At the age of 11, he bought his first guitar with 50 cents he earned deworming tobacco. I asked Dad what kind of guitar he got for 50 cents, and he said one that required a lot of glue and duct tape. His story continued when his family moved to Somerville, Ohio, early in his teens. There he would begin to develop his music skills. His new friend Stanley learned to play and sing by imitating a country band that performed every weekend at a local tavern. They would sit outside and watch the band play through an open window. He said by the end of summer they could play every song the band performed. They also spent countless hours listening to Red Foley and the Retro Valley Barn Dance. Dad's biggest influence and idol was Red Foley. Red was not only an all-time great country musician, but he was also somewhat of a local hero, being from Berea, Kentucky, near where Dad grew up. He was one of the founders of Retro Valley and the host of the Barn Dance. Dad and his friend Stanley were such big fans that they built a stage in an old chicken house where they would pretend to be performing at Retro Valley. When he was about 18, his family moved to Ripley County, a few miles south of Batesville. Some significant events happened shortly after that move. He met the neighbor girl, Margie Lures, who would become his first wife and the mother of his children. He also began a career at Batesville Castle that would last 45 years. What Dad didn't know is if he had any future playing music. Then one day, when coming home, he heard someone in the house strumming on his guitar, went in and met a man by the name of Joe Webster, who just happened to be there doing some wiring on the house. To make a long story short, by the next weekend, Dad was playing at the Aurora Eagles, launching his musical career in Southeastern Indiana. Dad primarily played with two bands from the 60s into the 90s. The first band was known as the Lockery Valley Boys, and at times also known as the Sundowners. Along with Dad, the band included Bernie Gilbert, Jim Kennedy, and Tony Hagman. At times, a young Bobby Mackey would also play with the band. Dad recalls playing with Bobby at the Ship, a Batesville tavern owned by Margaret Walkie at the time. Some 25 years later, Mrs. Walkie would stop Dad on the street and pull out an old newspaper article from her purse about Dad and Bobby appearance at her establishment. She said it was one of her fondest memories and always kept the article with her. Sometime later, Dad and Bernie, his lifelong bandmate and fiddler, traveled to Madison at the invitation of their friend Carol Stinger to watch a new band that he wanted them to join. That evening at the Madison Eagles, the Country Travelers were born. Along with Dad, Bernie, and Carol, the band included Tilford McKay and Bill Brittle. The Country Travelers would perform over 4 different decades throughout southeastern Indiana and northern Kentucky. In 1972, Dad married his second wife, Doris Steinford. They shared a great love of music together, always enjoyed playing together, and had a loving and supportive marriage until her passing a few years ago. In the 90s, Dad and his siblings and other family members would often casually play together, often for the enjoyment of their dad. Over time, Dad said they realized they were pretty good. So by the mid-90s, they decided to form the Powell Family Singers. Along with Dad, the group included his wife Doris, brothers Jim, Sidney Jr., Ernie Elmer, sisters Helen Yorn, Tootsie Reynolds, Margaret Perry, nephew Kurt, and brother-in-law Dallas Reynolds. The group played and sang gospel music. They performed gratuitously at churches of all denominations, often for fundraising events, as well as at nursing homes, local fairs, and other such events. In 1998, the Powell Family Singers accepted an invitation to perform at Retro Valley. So Dad, over 50 years after pretending on a chicken coop stage and with a family at his side, realized his childhood dream of playing at Rental Valley. Dad continues to play. Just last night, he played with friends and family in Pintown. Him and his old bandmates, Bernie and Carol, would often get together and play until their recent passings. Dad frequently performed at churches, often with his wife, Doris. One of my favorite performances by Dad was his being surrounded and supported by the children of Adams Church, performing their Angels Among Us. We felt Dad was worthy of the Hall of Fame, not just because of his longevity, but also because of the enjoyment and admiration of his audience, and because of the respect he received from his peers that we witnessed throughout our lives. So, without further ado, and on behalf of the Hall of Fame, I'm pleased and proud to present this plaque to my dad, Joe Powell.
I just want to thank all my kids for putting this together, and I'm kind of glad that it's something that I've already done. I don't have to do it anymore. So it's even got my picture on it here. So, anyway, thanks everybody for coming out tonight and enjoying this like I'm enjoying it.